For those of you who have been following my weekly webcomic Lagoon Toons this year, first of all, thank you. I really appreciate your support, your readership. I've received some kind words throughout the year, and it means a lot to me. It really does. This has been a fun comic that I've been working on. These characters have been appearing in notebooks and during meetings and just as doodles since about 2013. But as at the beginning of this year, I decided to maybe go ahead and try to do something with them throughout the year. So I figured maybe this year I should just go all in for a little while and do this weekly webcomic. It was a lot of fun exploring these characters throughout most of 2019. So it was also really interesting to be on the weekly deadline that I assigned to myself for this comic. I've been on a lot of deadlines throughout my career in different forms, from when I've worked at the newspapers, my current role, just when I've done freelance, just in my world, I'm familiar with a variety of deadlines. So that concept in and of itself wasn't necessarily foreign. But for creative folks who are trying to balance personal projects along with professional expectations, family commitments, a lot of factors in life, right? For creative folks who are trying to do this on their own, it's easy to let some of those deadlines fall by the wayside once in a while. I know I've been guilty of that in the past for sure, and this year I really wanted to kind of go all in and try to hit those deadlines as much as possible. I wasn't 100% successful. There were, if you followed along, there were a couple of weeks along the way where I may have had to throw in a repeat or just double up on a following week. But overall, for the most part, I thought it was a pretty good year putting the comic out. And I hope you all enjoyed it. So if you have followed along and you're wondering right now, why haven't I seen a comic in the last couple of weeks? So Lagoon Toons is, if you haven't figured out already, is sort of on a little hiatus for the moment. A couple of big reasons for that. One of those was October began the annual Inktober exercise, and I try to attempt that challenge every year. I've been, at least for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been doing it. And this is an exercise that illustrators, artists, creative people all around the world attempt to make 31 ink drawings in 31 days during the month of October. I wanted to try to do some different projects during Inktober and really work on that. So I knew that Lagoon Toons was probably going to have to take a little bit of a back seat for the month. But then in November, following Inktober, I will also be going out of the country for a couple of weeks. So I know that Lagoon Toons is probably going to have some issues getting created during that window of time as well. So I figured it was probably just best to go ahead and put the comic on hiatus for a little bit. I still have plans to maybe toss in a couple of holiday cartoons throughout the season. So hopefully Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year, hopefully I can hit those deadlines and at least keep the characters fresh. And, I don't want to completely put the kibosh on these characters. I do have some, I do have a real affinity for them, and I have some ideas for things that we could do down the road. So who knows? Maybe sometime in 2020 we'll do a little reboot or a refresh or just restart where we left off. Who knows? But in addition to Lagoon Toons, I also have some other comic ideas that I've been working on. Interesting side note, when I began Lagoon Toons at the beginning of this year, at the beginning of 2019, I had a loose timeline in my sketchbook of doing like a quarterly comic. So my original intent was to try to do Lagoon Toons for maybe the first quarter of the year and then transition into another comic that I was developing and kind of do like seasons of comics. And then of course I would return to Lagoon Toons when that season was back. That idea hasn't fully formed, and I stuck with Lagoon Toons for the bulk of the year as I continued to develop some other ideas in the background. But I have some of those other ideas that are possibly coming down the pipe. So keep an eye out for those. Also, if you did enjoy Lagoon Toons, I just want to let you know that some of the original art is for sale on my website, ChristopherArnoldDesigns.com/shop. I've also got some sketch covers listed there. I've got some sticky note art, a few past Inktober projects, and who knows, I might list a few of my current Inktober projects to the shop after this month is up. Well, maybe during the month, but most likely after the month is up. That's just a short little update to let you know where Lagoon Toons is and what I'm currently and looking forward to working on. There is content still over on the Patreon. If anybody is backing me there or thinking about backing me there, there is, of course, all the comics which are there, but there's also some behind the scenes, there's exclusive line art for each one. So if you want to try out your own coloring, whether it's digital or traditional or whatever else, I'm making the line art for most, if not all, of the strips are available. So you can download or print those and try out your own colors. And actually, you can even make up your own strip out of them if you want. It's a fun little kind of home version of the game is what I call it. So that's over on my Patreon, patreon.com/ChristopherArnoldDesigns. Feel free to take a look at that, and if you are so inclined, I invite you to become a backer. I'm going to include some Inktober content this month, and then as I develop some of these other comics, I will post some updates and some behind the scenes sketches and things like that to Patreon as well. So, thank you all again. See you soon.